Hi, Lewis. Welcome to MovieJunk. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. We have veteran actor Louis Lombardi joining our show today. No surprise to Soprano fans. You play Skip Lipari. We also know you as Tommaso Pergesso in the Gravesend series, and you have quite an extensive film resume, such as Usual Suspects, Suicide Kings, Deuces Wild, Jersey Boys, Entourage, and you got so many more exciting projects. I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Man, you did your homework, huh?
So many projects, and I know we left a few of them out, but we definitely can't start. And again, I'll selfishly start because the very first film that I saw you in was Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh my God, that was like one of my first films. I did a film called Amongst Friends that was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 1993. And as soon as I got back from Sundance, our movie was a big hit there. It was this independent little film that we did 2 years, like 90, we shot it in 91. And you do these projects, you just never know. And Mira Savino cast me in it. She was no one. She was just trying to be in the movie, trying to be in the business. And we did this little independent film and shot it in 1991. 93 comes around, and they're like, hey, it's going to this little festival. We don't even know what it is, called Sundance. Now, remember, back then, it wasn't the big hoopla. We were
Hmm.
like on the very ground floor of the festival in a way.
Yeah,
And we did this movie, and 2 years later, I drive from the Bronx, where I grew up, to LA, pick up Mira Savino and two other people from the movie, and we all drive together to Utah for the festival. It was actually one of the luckiest and best times of my life, because what happened was we all go to Sundance. Remember, nobody's doing anything. And the film hits. It hits massively. I mean, that's what started Mira Savino's career out. Mira
hmm.
Savino wasn't really acting. You know how she got into the movie? She was doing Amongst Friends a casting. And she knew the lines, and they couldn't find the girl, or one of the girls had dropped out, and we were at the shoot. The director goes, hey, why don't you, Mira, why don't you do it? You know the lines and stuff. So almost accidentally started her career.
That's amazing. That's amazing to be a part of that, right? Because I mean, this is the mid '90s, right? I mean, you were already
Early 90s,
er, er,
93.
I'm sorry, early 90s, right? And
Yeah.
but you'd also, I mean, you didn't just start out. You also had the bug when you were a teenager, right? You did some smaller theater roles as a teenager as well too.
Man, let me tell you something. People go, how did you start Sopranos? And I laugh because I have headshots when I was 12, and I showed them
Wow.
to people. I still have them. And when I showed them,
Wow.
they're like, oh my God. I go, yeah, I've been doing this since I'm a kid. Like, it's not just me, like going, hey, I'm starting, like, acting for the Sopranos. That was in
Hmm.
2000. I've been acting. I have headshots since 1980.
That's wild. Yeah.
1980, yeah. So what I would do is, as a kid, I didn't go to school. Not too many people in the Bronx go to school. You become a street person. That's just the reality of what it is, right?
Yeah.
So as a street kid, I was always a kid. I didn't go to school. What I would do is I would read backstage, and I would audition for all the roles that are in there, all the NYU films. So I would submit at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old so many pitches to NYU films, all student films, independent films in New York. And what happened was I clicked in with the NYU crew. Now, these kids are spending $100,000 a year to go to school, making real films.
Yes.
You might go student film, but there are student films for $100,000. It's like a feature. You could do an independent film for that.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, so I ended up doing one, two, three. And then I ended up just getting in the role of that. And I ended up doing so many of them and hooked up with all these NYU kids. So what I did, I learned how to make movies. I got a $100,000 a year education, and I learned how to act for free. And I did it for 10 years.
Amazing.
And in the midst of sending my headshots out, I ended up sending it to this Amongst Friends, I auditioned. I did so many, you don't really go, this is it. You just like an independent. But when you love what you do, it's not like it's more of like, okay, you're so excited. And I love acting. It's such a passion. I mean, it's just my life. Like, food and acting and football
Definitely.
or my life. Those are my three things that I do every day. I live by, So when I learned how to make all these movies for free, and then we got this call like 2 years after this little independent movie got picked up and went to Sundance, we all drove and it launched our careers into the stratosphere. And that's how Mira Sorvino met Robert Redford. And that's he put her in Quiz Show, and that started her career almost by accident. Because if they would have cast a girl in Amongst Friends, right?
Yeah.
She wouldn't have gotten the role. Would her career still be on that same trajectory?
It's amazing how, sort of things just happen this way, right? And even from your standpoint, right? It's sort of a baptism by fire, going to, school, and a lot of folks, they're paying for their education, but you were getting this firsthand. And I'm just curious too, were there any, and I'm sure there was, but was there anyone notable that you went to school with that you later worked with
You ready for
down the
this?
road?
It was a writer who I did my very, very first student film, and I still have the tape. We shot it in Utica, New York. We took a
My
trip. It was
goodness.
like they paid for it. Was almost like being on a mini movie. His name was David Birnbaum, and
Oh,
he ended
wow.
up writing Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. He
Hmm.
ended up becoming a big writer. I never
That's amazing.
talked to him ever like after that, maybe like 25 years ago when he first got out. He's like, oh my God, you're right, because I saw his name in the credits. And he ended up, becoming that. But I don't know anyone else. Maybe they are the big directors and they didn't hire me again.
Well, also too, I mean, starting, at such a young age as a teenager, with headshots, and I'll admit too, when I was probably 6 or 7, I had a passion for wanting to become an actor, and I have some headshots. If I can find them here, I'll send them back to you. But the ability to start at a young age, I mean, were there any early influences? Like, were there any movies or
Yeah,
stars
Oliver
that you started?
Stone.
Oliver
Oliver
Stone?
Stone was my, a lot of Italian American actors who come out of New York are like Scorsese, Coppola. I admire them, but they're not like big. Oh my God, Scorsese, like everyone does.
Hmm.
To
Yeah.
me, growing up, it was Oliver Stone. Like he
Uh-huh.
was making these films that were like
Platoon.
realistic, like gritty, real, and all the films I want to write and direct are based on that vibe, on that feeling of telling a story. Realistic, punch in the mouth, not glamorized, not, you know. And as a kid, I was always an Oliver Stone fan. And I read his book, Stoned, and I would always be like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. After we left Sundance, right? This is how the universe works. After we left Sundance, I drive back to LA and I got an agent. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Remember, I'm a kid from the Bronx. No union card, nothing. I was just driving around the country. And we get back to LA and the director calls me and he's like, yo, Louis, he goes, I got a meeting with Oliver Stone. Can you drive me? I was like, what?
Course.
A week back in LA, drove from the Bronx, took us like 5 days to get to LA,
That's
picked up
amazing.
Mira, 2 days we were there, picked up Mira and this other person who was in the movie. We all drove to Sundance, came back. I'm there one day. He calls me. I go, absolutely. I go back. And a week later, I go meet Oliver Stone, and he's talking to the director about making another movie because our movie was a big hit at
Yeah,
Sundance.
absolutely.
That was a big, big hit. So he's telling the director, hey, man, you can go in my library, pick a script, make any movie you want. And I'm sitting there going, like, this is surreal. My idol, who I want to be like since I'm 10, like making films, I'm now in LA for a week and I'm sitting with him. Is that amazing? And
It's surreal.
it's surreal, right? So he looks at me and he's like, well, what are you doing here? Like fucking with me. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just came with this guy because he's like a hardcore dude, Oliver. And I'm like, I don't know. I just drove right because I'm fucking with you. He goes, you're going to be in my next movie. I have no union card, dude. I'm a kid from the Bronx. I'm 25. Never left New York. I'm in LA now, like with like Oliver Stone, who's a guy who I keep wanting to be like. It's almost like you projected it enough to make it come true. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I'm in the room with him and he goes, you're my next movie, kid. I love your look. And I was like, okay, dude. 2 months go by, I don't hear nothing. I'm like, fucking Hollywood. I hate everyone here. This is stuff. I get a call from my agents. Hey, Oliver wants you to go meet him. I go, really? Go to his office again. I go, okay, jump in my car, zip down. I walk in the door, right? Remember, I'm not that, no union card. I'm a kid. I never did a movie besides student films. And there's a Amongst Friends film. They go, Oliver wants you to come in to meet in the room now. And I think he's there by himself. Hey, you're going to be cast, audition. You know how the process is, right?
Hmm.
I walk in the room, who's there? Robert Downey, Woody Harrelson, Tommy Lee Jones, Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore, Don Murphy, and Jane Hampshire.
Natural born killers.
I was like, yes. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, these people are like, I go, hey. And they're like, Louis, welcome to the film. And I'm like, this is and these are guys that I watched the whole 80s watching movies, 70s and 80s basically, because I was like, this is insanity. He sits me down, he goes, we're gonna be bringing no people in to pair you up with to be in the movie. So you're gonna need another security guard. He's like, let me know who you like. And I'm like, okay. He's bringing in all these character actors, Mike Starr, who's like my brother, Marshall Bell, oh my God, Pruitt Vince Taylor. He's bringing in people that I'm going, I like him. He's like, no, Louis. Stops me. He goes, you can't like everyone. You have to pick someone who you think you want to work with in this movie as the partners and the deputies. And I was just like, I can't do that. So they ended up picking Marshall Bell, who was Vince Pruitt Taylor, who was the two nicest people I ever worked with. It was my initiation into Hollywood. I don't have a union card. He paid for my union card. He flew me because he liked Amongst Friends. So he flew me to New York and let me go to the premiere. All within like the Natural Born Killers. It was in Chicago. Flew me out there, didn't give me a script. I was there 2 months with them, hung out every single night, went to every club, bar, restaurant. For some reason, they loved me. And it was Downey who really took me in. You know, Downey was the most amazing person and actor I've ever worked with and I've ever been around. And when he was messed up at the time doing Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers was an insane. They wrote books about it, but that was
It's a
my
wild movie.
first initiation into Hollywood. And I hung out with Downey every night in his room. He would have big parties on the weekends, but in the week it would be just me and him, and he just liked me. He would get me this car and take me to every restaurant with him. We'd all be at the restaurant. It would be Robert Downey, Woody Harrelson, and Tommy Lee, all sitting down, and me. I'm
That's
like, is this
amazing.
insane? It was the most insane thing. And you know, and that's when Downey was having his problems, you know, like his issues with, you know, substance abuse and shit. And, you know, I would watch him, how he treated everyone, letting extras sit in his seat, treating everyone with the utmost respect, like David and stuff. And when he fell in the 90s, you know, I felt terrible because he was such a good-hearted person, Robert Downey Jr., amazingly great-hearted person. And when he hit again, I
Yeah,
totally understood because he was a good person.
definitely,
It almost
definitely.
came back to him. He never, when he was on drugs, he didn't really harm or hurt. He just hurt himself. But when he fell, he came back bigger than ever. Why? And I say this because I was with him then for months. He was the nicest person, treated everyone with respect, and his karma came back later on when he got sober. And I'm a massive fan of Robert Downey, his career, the way he transformed himself from substance abuse to the biggest star in the world, worth 800 million again. You know, and everyone was counting him out. But if you knew him, you knew what a sweet, nice, respectful, great person he was. You'd have been like, boom.
I think it's definitely, I mean, for you, right? Obviously, knowing him during that time, seeing him go through those struggles and then rebounding the way that he did. I mean, he's one of the best actors just of
Of
all
our
time.
generation. Of our generation. I don't know how old you are, but my generation, I'm a little older, but he definitely is one of the best actors of our time.
I have to ask because I mean, again, you put in the work, right, for almost a decade. You know, you get this final payoff, right? You finally get a payoff, you know, with this big hit at Sundance. You then get cast, you know, obviously in Natural Born Killers, and you're with the big boys now, right? I mean, at any stage, because I'm obviously your career continued to traject, right? You've been obviously, you know, extremely busy and coming out with obviously some great films and great TV shows. But as far as, you know, when it finally hits, what is that? Was there any was and I might know the answer for this, but was there any at any point to where like I already achieved my goal? If it ends right here, I'll be okay, or was it just full speed ahead at that point?
No, full speed ahead. You don't know me. Anything I do is full speed ahead. Anything that's passionate to me and I love, I don't stop. I mean, I've been making
Mhm.
pizza since I'm 5. And
Yep.
I have a company now making pizza. I mean, I cook every single night. If I love something, even football, sports, I've been watching football since I'm 10. I watch reruns constantly when the season's over. Three things: football, pizza, and movies over my entire life. It's always been since I'm a baby, and it's still to today. And I'm so and you know, and the passion from it comes from just loving what you do. You know, a lot of people
Mhm.
don't love what they do. They wake up every morning, they hate their job, they hate their families, they hate everyone. And I'm just like, okay, I get another movie, or I'm going to go make pizzas for 10,000 people today. You know, and it excites me still. When something can excite you 50 years later, you love them what you're doing.
Amazing, amazing. And Beverly Hills Cop 3 came
Oh, wait, I'm
before,
sorry. That's how this Natural Born Killers thing came about.
because that was
So,
before, right? Right.
no, no. So, once I get hired by, I remember I didn't have a union card. Oliver paid my union. That's how I got in the union through Oliver Stone.
Hmm.
So I get that. And at Sundance that year, we had met Brian Singer. You know who Brian Singer
Of
is?
course. Yep.
He did a movie at Sundance that year, and it was in competition with ours.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was called Public Access. It was an independent film that he had done. Chris McQuarrie wrote it. You know who Chris McQuarrie is?
Yep. Yep.
Yes. And he wrote it. And so we were in competition with him at the film, and their film beat ours out. So when we got back to LA, you know, we made friends with him at the festival, me and my buddy. And he's like, hey, man, you guys want to be in my movie? It's called Usual Suspects. I was like, yeah. So we did little roles in that. And then right after I got home from Oliver Stone hiring me, John Landis, Tim Burton, Ivan Reitman, and John Landis did Beverly Hills Cop 3. Again,
Yeah.
that
He
film.
did the third
So,
one.
so they all started hiring me, all these great directors, back to back to back to back. And that's how I did like, I don't know, 100 movies, 80, whatever it may be, a massive amount of movies. And I think it was because Oliver kicked me off, you know, and then every director literally hired me, and I worked, and I ended up doing a movie with Johnny Depp called Ed Wood.
Yes. Yes. I was
And I
just tip
played,
my
and
tongue.
they cut me out, but they kept my name, so I get residual still. But it was
Mhm.
Tim Burton, he directed it, and it was me and Johnny Depp in a scene. They cut the scene, but my name is still in it. And then right after that, I did Usual Suspects, then I did Ed Wood, and then I did Beverly Hills Cop 3, all in the same year.
That's what it was. So because I know, just Beverly Hills Cop, I believe was released before Natural Born Killers, but it was the same period. It was the same time.
But
That
Natural
all
Born
came out.
Killers took years. That
I
was,
see. I see. That's why it took a while to finally get
I think it might
released.
have came out 90, late 94 or something. Yeah, some crazy thing. But I had done right after that, I had did back to back to back to back to back movies.
What's crazy about Beverly Hills Cop 3, right? We're finally, that was the last cop film to come out. We're finally getting Cop 4 this year
Oh my God,
coming
wait,
out.
really?
There's a part 4 coming out. We actually interviewed Taggart. Remember Taggart from the first two movies, John Ashton?
Yeah,
So yeah, he's making his return. He wasn't in the third movie. He wasn't in the movie that you were in,
right.
but he's coming back after all these years in this film. And your character, you were in the legal chop shop. You guys were doing the dancing scene, right?
Freddie
And
Asparagus, the famous comedian Freddie Asparagus,
yes,
away.
yes, yeah.
He
And
was great.
I know it was a smaller scene, but it was a memorable scene because of obviously, your characters, the entire folks in there got killed,
Yeah.
right?
It opened up
Um,
the movie, the scene.
which one?
It opened up the film, the
It
scene.
opened up the movie, right? It was the
Yeah,
segue, and Eddie comes in, and obviously
yeah.
sees something is up. But I
That's what
don't think
starts the conflict. Yeah.
your character. I don't believe you got a chance to meet with Axel, but did you get a chance to work with him or see him on set?
No, no, but I love Eddie Murphy. I mean, growing up, Eddie was the man. You know, I still love Eddie
Yeah,
Murphy. Who didn't watch any of his specials? Delirious, Raw. Like I used to watch those things 100 million times. You know,
yeah.
and yeah, I wish I would have, but he was great. You know what? Early on, I was extremely. I still am. I've been working with great people now. I'm not saying early on though. As a kid coming from nothing, I worked with. I was initiated by the best directors
Yeah.
and actors in Hollywood. My career started with Oliver, Tommy Lee, Woody Harrelson, that whole crew. Then I did a movie with Ivan Reitman called Father's Day. And I got to work with the best person I ever met and worked as well as Robert was Robin Williams.
Wow.
My God, he was oh.
Yeah.
So
Legend.
you talk about nice guy again, like Downey giving up his seat to people. Like this guy's the biggest. Anyway, I got to work with Billy Crystal, who was from the Bronx, so I clicked with him.
Wow.
Julia Louise Dreyfus, Robin Williams. Who else was in that movie? And Ivan Reitman directed it. And then Jared Harris, you know who that is? Jared
Jared,
Harris.
his name is on my tongue. I know if
Richard
I see your
Harris's
face.
son. He's one of the most famous actors out there now. He's on everything. Me and him played partners.
Wow.
And we became lifelong friends from that. So, and
Amazing.
then I did Usual Suspect, and I worked with that whole cast.
Everybody, everybody, yeah.
Everyone was in the scene we were in, the whole cast. I knew Benicio from that. I knew Kevin
Yep.
Pollak,
Kevin
all these,
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, all of these guys. So when I got to work, the first 8 years were the biggest movie stars in the world and me, and the biggest directors in the world and me. So as like as an NYU student, I would watch and learn. Like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why do you do this? Right? When I got on these massive sets, my teachers were Oliver Stone, Tommy, Tim Burton, Ivan Reitman, John Landis, Brian Singer. That became my film school. Was just being on
Definitely.
sets, learning from the biggest, best people. And as an actor, I was learning from the top actors. So I was getting the top A experience in Hollywood, from learning how to make movies to learning how to act in them. And I picked, it still goes on to this day. I learned from everyone. I don't care if it's a kid who just comes on the set to a guy who's been in 10,000 movies. I learn from everyone. I watch every director. And a lot of the cinematographers, like I worked with Bob Richardson, Hector Alonso. I worked with some of the biggest cinematographers because of the directors. And I always, I want to make movies. I always wanted to make movies. I want to be a director. I want to write. I want to produce. And I would always go, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And they were like, they loved it. And they were like, come on, Louis, we're going to show you. So I would get these lessons as a curious kid going, why do we do that? Why do you move the camera? Why do you change the lens? Like, I didn't know that technical stuff of it, but I learned from the top cinematographers as well as the best directors in the world. So my film school started at NYU and it went into Hollywood for 30 years.
It's amazing. I mean, you've had some of the best teachers, obviously, to learn from, and
Yeah.
it's sad when you mention some of those names because we've lost a lot of them, right? And Ivan Reitman, John Landis,
Yeah.
Robin Williams. We've lost a lot of those folks. Some of the greatest, obviously, that have made some of the best films of all time that we
Tom
still
Sizemore.
talk about.
Tom
Tom
Sizemore.
Sizemore,
And he
Tom
was a
Sizemore
natural,
too.
and I knew him before I went there because he lived above my guy, one of my friends, and he would come down every day. And he was obviously, messed up. But he was the freaking nicest person you've ever talked to, you've ever been around. He was just so sweet. And that's a guy who never really recovered, which I felt bad because if he recovered and did it like what Downey did, no bullshit, he would have been one of the best actors of our generation as well as Robert Downey is. Tom Sizemore was
Yeah.
insane as an actor.
I know he's
I mean,
done so many projects, but
Natural Born Killers,
Heat,
Scagnetti on Scagnetti,
Heat was
my
so good.
God. And he's such a great, when he's on screen, dude, I don't care who he's on with.
He
He's
steals the
stealing
scene.
scenes, every one. And I would sit with him and he'd be like, Louis, I was in that. And I remember I'm in Chicago. I had no money. I was a freaking kid. He goes, what do you need? Anything you need, you knock on my door 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I'll give you money, whatever you need. You just tell people you're with Tom. And I was like, and he was bigger than Downey at the time. Like he
Yes,
was about
yes,
to be the next De Niro.
yes.
And yeah, so he would be like, whatever you need, Louis, come to my door. You okay? I'd be like, yeah, I'm in my hotel suite, like in Chicago. He'd be like, here's $100. And so did Marshall Bell. Marshall Bell did the same thing for me. He's a legend, Marshall Bell. You know
Mhm.
him from, he's a character actor. You probably know him from a million movies.
Yeah.
And he took me in as well. He was my partner, and he would be like, whatever you need, Louis, here's 50, here's $100. I had no money. I was living off per diem, $300.
This is something that I always wondered, and again, tell me if it's just me, but in Natural Born Killers, I always thought that Tom Sizemore looked a lot like Robert De Niro. Did they make him look like that on
No,
purpose, or was that
no, but
just how he looked?
that's just how he looked. And
Yeah.
and I, as an actor, I saw him like this could be the next De Niro when De
Uh-huh,
Niro
uh-huh.
was younger, like in
Yes.
Taxi Driver and some of those great movies he did, and Sizemore would have blows them all away if he didn't get messed up on whatever. Greatest, sweetest guy you've ever been around as well. So a lot of people think just because you're on drugs, you're a mean, evil person. Sometimes the devil gets you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's why I don't really associate in Hollywood that much. I live in Long Beach, Santa Monica. I lived for 25 years. I kind of go further because, I'm always in my sweatpants and my t-shirt, and from the Bronx to here, 30 something years later, I'm still the same. I don't really drink. I don't really go out partying, I just stay on my little path, and I love and appreciate everybody I've worked with because I've learned. That's my film school. And then when kids go to me today, oh, I don't know. I don't know anyone. You don't know anyone to do what? Who knows anyone to go where? Unless your parents are nepotism and giving you a career or a job, who knows anyone? You get out there. You know, when I was working in NYU films, I didn't know anyone. When I drove across country from New York to LA, I didn't know a soul. I drove to Utah. I went from the Bronx. I didn't know anyone. You know, oh, I don't have money. I didn't have money. I went to school and learned. I went to NYU and got a free education. I didn't have money to go to acting school. What I do, I acted on the set. So I kind of tell people, when you say you can or you just don't want to, be straight up with yourself. Don't play a pity party. Go, I can't. I'm broke. I had nothing. I was a street kid since I'm 11, you
Yeah.
know, and I found a way. I read so many books back then. That's how I learned how to read. I went to fifth grade, you know. Yeah, and I didn't, you know, I learned how to read by picking up books, gangster books, John Madden's books, and would read them as
Yeah.
10, 12 years old and go, okay, that's how I learned how to read. And I've
Mhm.
been writing forever. I've written 40 scripts. I have notepads of me writing in 1981 too. Stories in my bedroom in the Bronx. I have them here now. People
Oh my
go, oh,
goodness.
I have stories, book after book from, and I would write, and it was funny because I would detail it. I would be like 1981, 4 a.m., raining out. And I have all the, and so a lot of these stories I turned into scripts that I had written. But I would write back then, and you don't need money to do that. You need drive, you need love and passion or something, you know. And everybody has an excuse. Everybody looking for a handout. Oh, I could do it for you. No one
Yeah.
wants to work at anything, especially these days. No
Yeah.
one wants to work for anything. Everyone wants to tell you how hard it is and how they don't have money or time.
Mhm.
Okay, you can learn anything if you want, right? You can learn anything. It's about you being passionate enough to learn it. And most of the people I deal with, no one wants to do anything. They don't want to put in the work, but they want the glory. I want to be on movies. Okay. So do I.
I gotta ask, being an aspiring writer, myself too, and you mentioned, when back in the 80s when you were writing scripts, obviously on notepads, and I read a lot of Sylvester Stallone's books when he was making Rocky, and I think even to this day, he still writes his scripts. I don't think he types,
No,
probably someone else types them later, but
that's what he said. He gets his
right?
type of
Someone probably types it later, right?
I do
But
the same thing. Notebooks. I have
awesome.
notebooks. If I pulled them out of my drawer, you'd be like, "Oh my god, that is 1981, 2, 3." Yeah, and just I start getting an idea. I just get I have 100 books. I have pages all over my desk. If you
Mhm.
saw my desk, I just get an idea and I start writing stuff. I'll write
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 pages to get a concept down,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know? And I type very slow and weird, so I take a long time. But sometimes I'll have people come in and help me if we're
Hmm.
at the process of getting it done, you know?
Definitely.
But again, you can learn anything. Most kids these days, and not kids, but people, our society's become so lazy. And how can I do it quickly?
Hmm.
You know?
You so you have this trajectory, right? You get Beverly Hills Cop 3, Natural Born Killer, Suicide Squad. I'm sorry, Suicide Kings. And then Fantasy Island TV show as well too. And then we start leading to 97, I'm assuming, right? And then that's when the Sopranos, I
No,
think,
no,
started
no, no, no.
casting.
What happened was I did a show before my first show in 96, I'm going to say, was a show called Easy Streets. And it was with Paul Haggis. Do you know who Paul Haggis is? He won an Oscar for Crash.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
this show was his first show. It was about the Irish mob in New York. It was called Easy Streets.
Hmm.
CBS show. It was The Sopranos before The Sopranos.
Hmm.
Series. It was Joey Pantoliano, Mike Starr, Jason Gedrick, uh I mean, Ken Olin. This was at the time of like TV was just starting the what do you risky, like the
Hmm. More edgy, yeah.
more edgy, right? So Paul Haggis did this show and it was gangsters and Westies. You know what the Westies are, the Irish
Yeah.
mob?
Yep.
That's what it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
And again, the cast on it was insane. Joey Pants, that guy Cole. I mean, we had a Mike Starr. We had a cast. Jason Gedrick, Ken Owen directed a bunch of them. It was crazy. This was the first thing. So I was on that as a recurring role. Bobby Moresco wrote it with Paul Haggis. He's a New York writer as well. So we did that show. and CBS Time Magazine, it was claimed one of the best shows ever made at the time. And I was like, holy shit. So I did like 8 episodes of it. And that was because we were all buddies. Mike
Yeah.
Starr, Joey Pants was a buddy of mine. All these guys, we would hang out and have coffee. And then the show got bored. So we were all on the show. I played one of the gang members. So after that, I auditioned for Sopranos in like 97.
Yeah.
97.
Wow.
Okay. I auditioned for Big Pussy. And I went in and you know how I got the audition? You know what, really? I did a movie called Suicide Kings. Wasn't supposed to be in it. I did a day with Dennis Leary. I improvised the whole movie. One day I was on the film. My buddy made it. The director didn't want me in the movie, but my buddy wrote it and produced it and said, get in. This is going to go back to Sopranos. I'm not going off, but this is how I got it. I did this movie called Suicide Kings. One day I had no lines, no nothing. It was Dennis Leary, Christopher Walken. Remember that movie?
Yep.
Every actor in Hollywood was in it. Anyway, my buddy, the director didn't want me. My buddy said, just do one day. Please be in it for me. Absolutely. He wrote me a lead role. Lead role, the guy didn't want me. He used Brad Garrett and my other buddy. Okay, I'll do one day on it. I go, and me and Dennis Leary don't know the guy. We start improvising. 12 hours later, we're in the car just saying shit. Cut to, when the movie goes, I'm in 9 scenes. I steal the movie. They cut the lead I was supposed to be in. They cut that role down to nothing, and they added more of me. Just goes to show you how no one knows anything. The director didn't want me. Said I wasn't right. Meanwhile, I end up getting more scenes in the movie than the role that was written. All improvised with Leary.
Wow.
So they ended
That's
up writing
amazing.
a movie for me and Leary from that. Anyway, who's in the movie? Christopher Walken. His wife is
Georgianne Walken. Yeah.
He cast Sopranos.
Yep.
She'd seen me in the movie because this was 97.
Mm-hmm.
She saw me in the movie because Christopher was in. She's like, I love you. Kind of like what Oliver did.
Yep.
She's like, I want to try to get you in this. Can you come in and audition? So I went into Brillstein Gray at the time and I auditioned for Big Pussy. Anyway, the audition goes, okay. A month later, I get called in to audition for Fantasy Island. And a guy named Barry Josephson, who was like the vice president of Sony, on the biggest dude. Like he was the biggest. Barry Josephson was a mogul. He loved me, and he was like, Louis, I want to put you on my show, Fantasy Island. You're gonna play Tattoo, and I was like, fucking crazy. What tattoo? I was like, what? He was like, no, trust me. I was like, Barry, really? And he was the coolest dude, Barry Josephson. Legend. He's a legend. He ran Sony Studios with Peter Guber and the other dude forever. Like they did like all the biggest movies. Yeah. Anyway, Barry Sonnenfeld was an executive producer as well. They were partners. You know Barry Sonnenfeld?
Yeah, of course.
So Barry and Barry Josephson, the two Barrys, were making Fantasy Island. Anyway, get the role. Who was my partner? Malcolm McDowell.
Oof.
Couldn't be any more better for my career. Because when I got they're like, oh, you're going to move to Hawaii. So now I was pulled out of the first season of Sopranos. Because I got to Fantasy Island and we geared up, and then I moved to Hawaii for a year and a half to shoot the show. And you know who wrote the pilot? You know, Chris and Paul Weitz, the Weitz brothers?
Yes.
They wrote the pilot. I knew them back in the day.
Wow.
They were the coolest dudes ever. They were just young guys, their first thing.
That's amazing how that happens.
Amazing, right? That's what I'm saying. I've been on the ground floor of a lot of infancy careers. Mira, Mark Ruffalo, he was a bartender. We used to hang out with him when he was a bartender at Smalls.
Wow.
Mark Ruffalo was one. Matt Perry, the guy from Friends. We used to hang out with him at Formosa. He didn't do anything. He was friends with Shannon Doherty. My brother went out. My buddy went out with him.
Wow.
And he used to hang around. So he was no one. Friends was he was a bit. I saw him one day. He was like, "Yeah, I'm doing a pilot again. I did 100 of them. It's called Friends." 6 months later, he's the biggest star in the world.
That's amazing.
Back. So
that's amazing.
Georgianne sees me, can't get in for the second season. I moved to Hawaii. I'm out of the loop, and it turned out to be the best thing ever. I'm out of the loop for Sopranos. I shoot the season. It doesn't go. The show fails. You know, and I always say this about my life, and I do a lot of motivational speaking. When things always look worse, and the most tragic and the worst thing you can do, the biggest and best things happen in my life. Always, since I'm a kid. So when things bad happen, I don't go, oh, boo-hoo. I go, something great's about to. And that's the pattern of my life.
That's amazing.
Absolutely, right? So I get canceled. I go, shit, it's Christmas time. I go, what am I gonna do here? I go, let me go visit my mother in New York, right? So I go from, I'm now I'm 30 years old. I have $400,000 in the bank. I never, I was from the street, hanging out on gangsters in the streets in the Bronx. Now I'm like starring on a show for ABC, got canceled. I got 400 grand. I'm like,
That's a lot of money back then. That's a lot of money
a
back then.
lot. It's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
I wish I had it back then and now. So I was like, holy shit. So I go to New York. I said, let me go lick my wounds. The show was a disaster in Hawaii. Everybody was blaming me for the failure of this $50 million. I'm like, I'm not the writer, the producer, the director. Like, but everyone loved me on the show. So when I left, the show ended up getting canceled. People were like, we love Louis. You took the best part of the show. And I got a great feedback from the people. Okay. So I go to New York and I'm there for a day. I call my agent. I go, hey, I'm going to go to New York. She's like, really? She calls Georgianne.
Wow.
After the first season now, Sopranos was a massive hit, right? So she goes, Louis in town. She goes, have him come in today. I'm there a day. A day. And I knew Gandolfini. I used to hang out with him again before fame. Everybody. Wow. I hung out with everyone before that. Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, when they were kids at parties. And
that's amazing. That's
I'd show up, they loved me. They'd be like, what's up? Mark Wahlberg was the greatest dude. I hang out with him.
You have a contagious personality. That's what it is. Your personality is contagious.
Thank you. So turns out Georgianne goes, tell him to come in. We loved him in Suicide Kings. I go in, I get in there. She's like, you're gonna read for the cop. And my buddy was the writer. And Frankie Renzulli. And he had said, Louis, if they offer you the cop role, take it because you'll have more of a longevity of a career. And I was like, He goes, even if it's 1, 2, 5 episodes, whatever it is, you will be different. And I was like, okay, everybody wants to be on every week, right? So I get called. Georgianne's like, we want you to come in and read for the cop. I go in. Who's there? Jimmy, David Chase, and 2 executive producers and Georgianne. I'm like, Jimmy's like, I'm reading with you. And I remember I knew him. I had to hang out with him.
No pressure. No pressure there.
It was a little bit. It was a little bit. So I go, okay. I read one scene. Remember, my self-insured, I got canceled. They told me I sucked on the show, right? I was like, okay. So I read the scene, and first scene, he goes, okay, enough, done. And I had 3 more scenes. I go, with this stream, he goes, no. I was like, oh God.
Wow.
I must suck as an actor. I just got fired off a show. Now he's telling me no more reading after one scene. And I was sitting there and I was like, okay, see you later. I leave. I go downstairs. I get a call within the elevator ride to the lobby. You're on the show.
Oh, wow.
They're going to write you in as 1 episode. You're going to be the cop. I was like, and I was already in New York now, so I didn't have to really go back. I was like, holy shoot, this is amazing. So I leave. I get the role as the cop. They go, 1 episode. And you're going to be playing Big Pussy's cop. And I was like, now I know Big Pussy since I'm 11.
Oh my goodness.
He used to own a bar in New York. And I was a young, I don't know, whatever you say, thug, gangster. And I used to go to his bars and shake him down. And he tells the stories. Because I know Louis and Richie Palmer, who owns Mulberry Street Pizza in LA, they were best friends. And I used to go to all the bars in the.
I just had it yesterday.
Really? Yeah. Anyway, so Richie, I know since I'm 11 too, but me and my friends and my family would go and we would just take, from the bar. Like we would shake them down, basically. All of them. And they tell the stories. Richie tells them all the time when I see him out in Beverly Hills. Yeah, fucking Louis used to come in and shake me down with his uncles. Vinny tells it on the podcast. Louis was 11. He used to come in and was a bag man for all these mob guys. I was 11.
Oh my goodness.
That was my school, was the streets. So the hustle that bred me for the streets bred me for Hollywood.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Carried over.
So you couldn't, when I got out here, all these actors were like, sense memory, sensitive. I was like, I don't give a fuck about rejection. You could tell me whatever you want. I have no fear of you. I'm living with mass murderers and drug dealers and gangsters. And you're just going to cast me in a show. I ain't got to, when I leave this room, I'm not worried. So I never had fear. I never cared about rejection because you could say what you want to me. I really don't give a fuck what you believe or say about me. I just don't care. I don't care what you say about me. Never did. And that was my confidence. That was my acting teacher. I could walk in a room with 20 people, young, old, any ethnicity, any race, any color, any age, and I'll get along. From my daughter's high school cheerleading squad to gangsters in the street, I will get along with any room you put me in. That's always been my strength. So when I would audition, most people would be so nervous, and I'd be like, why? We're not, what's gonna happen? You know, we're
Exactly.
not getting, you know, we're not getting killed. So I didn't care. To me, it was just like, you know, so anyway, long story short, turns out that, you know, I get on Sopranos. I'm working with a guy I know for 30 something years, right? As a kid, the guy who owned my detective on the show, my boss was Rayo, Frankie Pellegrino, who owned Rayo's.
Yep. Yep.
My family grew up with him. He was like, you know, my grandfather was best friends with him for 50 years. My mother went to school with his wife. They were family. So when I got on the show, my captain is now a guy who basically knows me since I'm a baby.
That's insane.
My guy I'm acting with in the scenes is a guy who knows since I'm 11. You talk about comfortability. So what me and Big Pussy would do is we would go to his house in City Island and we would run the lines together and drive to the set together. And we did so many great like we did so many takes and rehearsed the heck out of it that when we got to the set, we were shooting these takes in 1 and 2 takes, and they were killing it, right? And we were killing it. So they were like, okay, you're gonna be in another episode. You're gonna do another one. You're gonna do another one. End up doing the entire season, and they wrote that whole arc from nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So was I'm sorry, go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, go ahead. I just love it because this is like the foundation, and people think, oh, what was your first job? Sopranos? I look at them. I just don't want to hear when people say that. They're so ignorant. No one looks before that. If you look at my body of work before Sopranos, I did 100 movies. I did Paul Haggis' show. I did Fantasy Island. You get it? So people have this perception. And you want to know what my biggest flex is in my life and career is, as a big Italian-American actor, I never play a gangster. Look at my career.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Maybe 3 or 4 roles out of every project I've ever done, especially my biggest. I'm a cop. And I'm sorry, wait, so let me finish. So I do The Sopranos, and I go, 1 episode turns into 13. Second season, remember, I walked into a fucking biggest show in history. First
You were in
season
the
was
third season. You were in the third season too for an episode.
1 episode.
Yeah.
Good memory. Yeah, good memory. So when I'm like, I'm like, you know, shooting this, I'm like, this is insane. I'm in my hometown with my people that I grew up with: Rayo, Frankie Pellegrino, Vinny Pastore, Gandolfini. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this is insane. Like, this is so cool. And David Chase loved us. Why? Because we did the work.
Yeah.
Me and Vinny, I would go to Vinny's house all week, run the lines, 100 ways, get in the car, run him to the set, get out, get in the cop car. 2 takes. They were like, you guys are great. Not only did we know each other since we're forever, but worked the shit out of it.
That's amazing.
You know, we worked the heck out of it. So,
and it showed.
Thank you. So this goes back to what the writer told me. Do the cop stuff. You will have a longer career. That always resonates in my mind. Don't always go for the big pile in the beginning. If you got to take a little pile and it gets you 10 big piles later on. So anyway, Sopranos is done. I do another pilot for Fox, which was actually my favorite show afterwards. It was a show based in the 50s, and we were neighbors in the building, and I was a nemesis. You would know the show. The guy was famous, and it was a guy.
What show was it?
Oh, God. It was my favorite show. It took place in the 50s.
Let's see. I can look. It was after Sopranos.
Yes, right after. And it was a pilot, because I did a pilot for Judd Apatow after that, called Life on Parole. And Jon Favreau directed it. It was Judd Apatow, and it was a guy, Dave Foley was a star. And I play a crack addict who gets out of jail. I wasn't supposed to be on the show. Judd met me, and before you know it, I was a star of the show, playing the parolee, right? That was a different one. That was called Life on Parole, Charlie. So anyway, this other one I did, what the heck is the name? I played an arch nemesis neighbor. We fight over the parking spot. They egged me, you used to egg people with eggs.
Was it
So
Some
we
of My
did,
Best Friends?
no, that was the one we did with
Yes, Dear or Philly?
just, which one?
Yes, Dear or Philly?
No, no. Some
It's
of My Best Friends was great too. That was with Jason Bateman. Justin Bateman, I think. Yeah, Jason Bateman, whatever his name is. But the one we did, it was, oh my God.
Oliver Bean.
Oliver Bean. Dude, I wish if any show I did would have won, it would have been that. It was the 50s, and we were on the Fox lot with the 50s cars, right? Or 60s.
Yep.
And and like I was the nemesis to the people who lived in the building, my neighbor. So we
David
would
Cross is
get
great.
the front spot, like they would egg me, him and his son drive by, and we would fight. Like it was the best role, one of the best roles I've ever had. Put it that way. It was so much fun. Anyway, after that comes along, I get a phone call, right? And it's from the guys from 24, Joel Surnow. He's the creator of 24.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, man, I want you to come in for a meeting. I want to talk to you. I go in, and there's John Cassar, Howard Gordon. I mean, legendary TV people. Joe Surnow, Howard Gordon, John Cassar, who's the best director I've ever been around, sweetest guy in the world. Anyway, I go in this room, there's 20 people there. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So they go, we want to put you on, we're thinking about putting you on the show. Joel's like, this is 2 years after Sopranos. Remember, I did the Judd pilot, Life on Parole, then I did Oliver Bean, and then I did another pilot, and then I go in to meet them, and Joel's like, I got a role for you. Now I'm thinking, he goes, I just watched Sopranos. It's 2 years later. He goes, I loved you on there. I want to put you on my show. And I'm like, I'm going to be badass with a gun. Me and Jack Bauer shimmying from helicopters, oozing bad guys. He goes, okay, you're the nerdy, geeky guy who gets screamed at and yelled at by Chloe every day. Basically, is what they did. And I was like, well, what made, like, I didn't understand, like, what did you see me in that was that kind of role? Remember, I don't know if you watched 24. Did you ever watch 24?
Oh yeah, of course. Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. So I was this quiet, sad, crying every episode guy, getting yelled at by Chloe. What?
Won so many awards too.
We won an Emmy for it. That was the only year we ever won, was the year I was on. And
but it was nominated all the time. It was always nominated.
No.
I'm mixing it.
The next 5 years weren't even nominated.
Okay, I'm mixing it up.
The first year or two they were nominated. They won for like writing, but then the second one we won for best drama. Gotcha. We beat out. First year we lost, and then the second we lost. The show lost. And
I must have watched the same show, different categories, and thought it was multiple years.
Yeah, well, the first few years they did well, and then after that, after we won our Emmy, we were all, we all got up on stage. And the surreal moment with that was, I was on Sopranos. We get up and we won the Emmy. Who's in the front row? The Sopranos.
Yeah,
and they were all like, Louis, I'm on stage like with the Emmys in our hand, like we win best drama, and we beat them, and they would cheer me on, and people were like, how the fuck do you know those guys? I was like, dude, I was on the show.
The show.
They were my friends. But they were in the front row because they were expected to win.
Yeah.
But we won. So anyway, that was that. So where was I saying before this? I was getting to a point with something. The 24. So then I go in and I'm speaking to Joel, and he's like, I have this role. You're gonna play this really nerdy, quiet, geeky. I was like, okay. And I'm way better at drama than I am at comedy. I might be funny in real life, which I don't know if I really am, but I never play a funny role. If you watch my whole body of career, that's why I think I loved Oliver Bean, because it was funny, but not. It was serious and it was funny.
Yeah.
But I never really played.
I'm gonna put it on my list to watch.
I don't even know if it's around. When I did Fantasy Island, it was supposed to be funny, but it turned into serious stuff that was going on. They made me serious, which I loved. I'm more of a drama. So I get 24. I'm supposed to do one episode. Heard what I said? Now this goes back to my dude, Frankie Renzulli, who was a writer on Sopranos, goes take the cop role. Years later, the cop role, I get hired on 24 as what? The cop role. Yeah. How right was that guy?
Yeah.
Which launched my career into the stratosphere as an actor. Because 24 and Edgar, people loved it. And when I did a lot of the foreign press, I did so much press. I would go into rooms and people would be like, you're not Edgar. You're like funny and loud and more outgoing. Edgar was this crying, sad sack actor, like said cop. I was like, yeah. So they were so amazed, like, wow, you're really acting. Like this is a real acting role. And it wasn't a gangster. It was a absolute opposite of what I would have ever been in real life.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but he found that from 24 from Sopranos. So the guy was right. He ended up putting me on one episode. I did 48
Yep.
episodes
Yep.
and we won an Emmy. So you just never know. When people go, yeah, I'm doing a show, and I got the biggest. I did that movie Father's Day. I told you with Robin and Billy. Remember? The movie
Yes.
bombed. It had the biggest stars in the world. Julian Dreyfus bombed. I did Suicide Kings with $50 movie that turned out to be launched my career into the stratosphere. So when people go to me, it's a small role. I had one line in Suicide Kings. Yeah, boss. I had one day turned into 9 scenes. They wrote a movie. You show up enthusiastic. You show up every fucking day like you're gonna win. If you don't, I used to play football for 10 years. You come to the team. If you don't want to win, leave. I'd rather play with 10 people than play with 11 with one limping because you're limping on your own. You don't, not because you're hurt, because you don't want to. I'm a total sports guy. And I'm always looking to win. I want to win every play, not every game. I played football. I wanted to win every play. I want to beat you down every time I snap that ball. I want to pound you into the ground, get up again. And I did that for 10 years in Harlem. I played in a 11-man full contact football, and I was so aggressive. I was 15. I was a kid. I was illegally playing in the league because it was semi-pro. I was a murderer. I was so into it. And I would play the offensive lineman. And every play I was like, I'm gonna bury this guy. My teammates they have videos they send me now, 35 years later. I get videos.
Oh,
People go,
wow.
look at this, Louis. Holy shit. I was just didn't care. I had no regard. Now I'm limping as an old man. I'm limping around. And that all comes from that. But I use that mindset of win, win, win in Hollywood. You tell me no, I'm coming back. You tell me no, I'm coming back. And I've won so far, knock on wood, right? As a kid with no acting school, no education in film school, no school in general, and I thrived. And I get that, I believe, from being in such an aggressive place as a kid in the streets, that when I got to Hollywood, it was like a walk in the park. I was like, I ain't got to worry about being killed or arrested. This is what everyone's afraid of. And I was
Yeah.
always good with people because I was a street hustler. So when I would go on auditions, I would be able to immediately, like you said earlier, that affects his personality. That's how I made money on the streets, going into bars and having people buy off you and deal with you, right?
Yeah.
When I got to Hollywood, it was like, this is great because I get along with people.
I imagine part of being cast too is that the directors and everyone they want to basically be with a cast of people that want to work together, right? And creating those environments. So having that type of contagious personality, being able to, that's why, with working with a lot of folks that, were your friends growing up, I imagine those types of things don't happen by accident. And just also jumping back to, this was just more of a fan question for me that I don't know if I ever was able to research, but with your character obviously being the cop, the FBI agent, with Big Pussy, did that story evolve with him being a rat? Was that the mindset from season one, or did that change? Like, did you get any visibility into that? Like, was he always supposed to be the rat, or was that created going into season two?
I think that was created going into season 2. Yeah. And David Chase regrets it, said he shouldn't have never done it. Should have never killed him. He should have
Yeah,
never killed him.
yeah.
But yeah, that's why, it was a shocker when they killed him. So, I don't really know, but in my mind, I would assume that they had some inkling when he got arrested for selling heroin,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
right? That he was going to turn snitch. But to kill him was a premature I think decision on David Chase.
And you
You know?
probably didn't know that he was going to be killed in the
No,
beginning, right? That those
no, didn't know
those are usually
didn't
kept
know till the
secret.
last till no till the last whatever episode, till he got killed on the
Hmm.
you know? And
Definitely.
yeah, and again, man, I'm so blessed. The guys who picked me to be on their shows, think about it. David Chase, Joel Surnow, and Bob Cochran, I think, was the other creator. Uh Paul Haggis, Easy Streets, Barry Sonnenfeld, Barry Josephson, uh Judd Apatow, John Favreau. I mean, I was so blessed as film career I was as well. Remember, I said all these great people in the beginning,
Yeah.
but as I evolved, the the TV people were the biggest people in the business, hiring me over and over and over. And some of
Yeah.
the roles I've done was so memorable, you know. So and they weren't playing a gangster. Oliver Bean, I played a 1950s neighbor.
Yeah.
Sopranos, I play a hardcore FBI agent, which I was the opposite growing up. You
Yeah.
know, 24, I play a sad sack guy, which I'm not a sad sack guy in general or quiet in any way, but they developed that, and that was my biggest and best role for playing something that was as opposite as me. All because I show up again. I'm going to win every play. I'm going to win every scene. When I'm in rooms with actors, my mindset is football. I'm going to destroy this actor
Mhm.
mentally. I'm
We
going to beat
need
this guy in the
if
acting
they,
scene.
if they ever make a Longest Yard 2, we need you opposite Joey Diaz on the
I
offensive
love
line.
Joey. Joey's the best. Well, I did. You know who cast me for The Animal? I did a movie called The Animal with Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
You know who
Yeah.
cast me? Adam Sandler. He saw me on Sopranos,
Wow.
and he said, "I'm a big fan of yours." I went in, and he hired me right there, and I ended up starring in The Animal, playing a
Wow.
cop, a funny,
Yeah.
nerdy cop. I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever saw that. Me
Of
and Rob
course.
Schneider, but I would get notes like from napkins, and they'd be like, "I don't want you to say this," and I look at it, it's a napkin with a joke. And I would say it and it would kill. And I'd be like, tell him to keep sending them. And then I did the hot chick. But that's
Yeah.
how I got in the Adam Sandler crew from Adam. He was a big
Yeah.
fan of my Soprano thing, and he put me in The Animal, which was huge. I started this movie with Rob
Yeah.
and Guy Tori, but from Adam.
That's amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, and he's still pumping out movies left and right. We're
I
just
love
gonna
Adam.
get
Adam's the
a
godfather of
Happy
Hollywood.
Gilmore 2 is supposed to come out after all these years.
Everybody looks at Adam who doesn't know him and goes, "Oh, Adam Sandler, goofy guy." Goofy guy? He's the godfather.
He's very smart.
And he's a leader. Everyone follows him. No one screws him over. He treats his friends like gold. Gold. Everybody around Adam's been around him since his SNL days. His partner Jack Geraputo, all his actors, his writers, his directors. These are his family. No one to me is. I don't respect anyone more in Hollywood than Adam Sandler. That dude is a legend, and not just from his acting stuff, but the way he runs his company. And again, he might look like Happy Gilmore, goofy, yeah. Fuck with Adam, and you'll find out. That's no bullshit.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Yeah, I mean, I
no one crosses him. No one, because he treats everyone like
yeah.
gold. So if you
Mhm.
do, you're actually a scumbag in kind of mentality, you know.
Yeah.
Adam treats his friends, pays them millions of dollars, lets them write, lets them direct, lets them star. But if you screw Adam over, I've seen him. You don't do it meanly. Adam just loves loyalty, and he's the man. I love Adam Sandler. One of my favorites.
The last thing I want is Happy Gilmore chasing me with a golf club upset. So,
Yeah, I wish I would be in Chase with the golf club.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, well, maybe we'll see you in the sequel. I don't know if they
I
start. I think
don't
there's
know.
just a
I hope
script.
so. But
Okay.
it's funny because Adam launched a lot of careers. Adam launched a lot of careers, started out a lot of people, from directors to writers. Him and Judd Apatow were roommates.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And I worked with Judd. Judd was the man as well. Judd took care of me and made me a star of his show. I wasn't even supposed to be on the show. A writer I know called Judd and goes, just meet him. He goes, we already got the show cast. We're already shooting. We're moving. My buddy's a big writer. Goes, just meet him. You don't have to hire him. Meet this guy. This is when I was, and Judd's like, okay, met me. I go home, rewrote
Yeah.
the whole pilot and wrote me as a starring role.
Yeah.
I was like, I love Judd Apatow, and Jon Favreau directed it before he
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
a lot of the stuff in my career, I'm not going to say happened by accident,
Yeah.
but happened by accident, and negative things happening that made better things happen. Like, think about it. I did that role in Suicide Kings. The director didn't want me. It was a big turmoil. My writer buddy, the producer, wanted me, and the guy, I don't want it. I was like, okay, like it was negative. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do it. And then I did Favor for one day, which turned out to be the best thing I ever did in my career. Because that launched Suicide Kings, launched me in the show. Stuff like that. When I got fired from Fantasy Island, I thought the end of the world. Young kid,
Yeah.
25 grand a week, 30 grand a week, going down the drain. Oh my God, boo-hoo me. I go to New York. I'm on the biggest show in TV history.
Yeah.
I get that gets ended. I think, oh, what do I do now? Joe Sternow sees me from 24 and gives me the winning role of my life. You get it? So every time something negative happened, it became bigger and bigger until today.
It's hard to find someone that you haven't worked with, but is there still someone that's on your bucket list that you still hope to work with before you hang it all up?
Uh, yeah, there's a few. There would
Yeah.
be a few.
Do you have a short list?
Man, that's difficult, because it's, you know, I love Brad Pitt. He's one of my favorites. I would love to work with Brad Pitt. He's been one of my favorites since he started. For some reason, he's like the best character actor, lead man, like Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, and I got to work with him, and he was
Yeah.
so nice. And I hung out with him too once or twice. Nicest guy ever. But
Amazing.
Brad Pitt would be one of my definitely favorites to work with. Again, massive career in being a character actor. 12 Monkeys, California, some of the movies he
Once Upon a
did,
Time in
seven,
Hollywood won the Oscar.
you know, and he's this character actor, but he's a great lead. He's a
Yeah.
leading man of character actors like Johnny Depp is and Robert Downey. When they can transform and not play, hey, I'm the guy, the cop, or whatever, but when these guys are transforming, like Downey in Natural Born Killers, playing Geraldo Rivera, who basically he was playing,
Yeah.
and then you got these actors like Depp. Depp is just, I watch Johnny Depp. I don't care if the movie sucks or not, just to watch his dude act and create these
Yeah.
characters, you
Yeah.
know? So I would love to work with Brad Pitt. Uh a lot of the younger guys don't really interest me because movies these days have gone to the bottom. You get repetitive movies that are no stories, all made from people in Hollywood that are doing mathematical equations to make a movie, not creatively. Oh, we're going to hit this demographic and we put this, we're going to sell. Okay, put actors in them, and that's what's happening. Like a lot of movies. I go to the movies 3 times a week. I just saw Dune, which I didn't like, a little long for me.
Yeah.
Oh, just the same thing. And I like that kid. I liked him when he did that movie with Steve Carell where he played the drug addict.
Yeah.
Great in that. I said that from the day
He's up and coming. He's doing
I
really well.
I said after I saw that movie, I said this kid's gonna be a star.
Yeah.
Timothy Oliphant or something. What
Chalamet. Yeah.
Chalamet, right? I thought he was amazing. I think from back then. So
He
I
just
think
got a first look deal, I think, with
yeah,
Paramount.
just signed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, just signed it. And so you kind of look at like, I think the state of Hollywood is on such a downcline because they're not making stories. Even like Spielberg and Scorsese are saying enough with the $500 million movies that are bombing. Make
Yeah.
20 million, 50 million movies. Go
10
back
of
to
them. You get 10 of those movies.
10 of them. And that's what that guy who just won. I was at his party, believe it or not, the day before he won his Oscar for the screenplay this year. The guy who won that movie, he's an independent movie he did.
What's it
He's an
called?
African American guy.
Yeah.
He won for like best writer. And I was at his Oscar party at the Waldorf like the day before, and people were like, it's a long shot. When he won, I couldn't stop clapping for the guy. You know what I'm saying? He just won for best screenplay. He did an independent movie. No one wanted to release it. He couldn't get a job. His story was amazing when I heard him speaking at the event.
Let's see. Won this year.
You know,
Um, Shoot. Was it for Anatomy of a Fail? Of a Fall?
was it? I don't even know. But I went to his party just because my buddy's the publisher of LA Magazine. And he invited me to all these events, my buddy. And he's like,
Yeah.
come to. So I went, met the guy. He was the nicest guy. You talk about deserving of an Oscar. And then he
Yeah.
won the next day. It was Saturday and Sunday. He won the Oscar. And I was like clapping for the guy. I was like, that's pretty cool. He made an independent movie. So that's the point is like, you look at some of these actors these days, no one's acting. They're making a movie that is made from parts of what they think can be successful, not because it's a good script or it's a great actor or it's a good story, which I kind of find sad in Hollywood. In all the years I've been here, it's kind of just getting to the point now where it's like, if you get a movie, you go, okay, it's great. Who's in it? That's what I want to know, first of all. Who's in it? Because like you said, I want to work with certain people. And these days, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't even think, but I think Brad Pitt would be the number one guy I'd want to work with.
Definitely. We'll try to put in the word and see if any
Hit
upcoming
up Brad
projects
Pitt
that he
right now.
has
Get him
in
on the
there.
podcast.
Yeah, we'll get them on. We'll see if we can get something set up. And I did want to ask, because I mean, you do always stay busy, and I wanted to jump in. Are there any upcoming projects that you're allowed to share yet?
Yeah,
Or
I actually created a show about my life growing up in the Bronx, and we're talking right now with MGM to make it. I've done, I've written a couple of scripts on it, and we're working with some great showrunners. I can't say who they are right now, but massive guys that love the concept and love the idea. So That's already in motion. I just starred in a huge horror franchise that will be out in September. I'm the main person in this franchise. It's called
Okay.
Mr. Director. It is going to be insane. It's the
Okay.
craziest character I have ever played. And we're already talking about doing 3, 4, and 5. We made a deal with Regal Cinemas. Regal Cinemas is going to release it in an XYZ amount of theaters. We did it without a studio. We
That's
went there,
amazing.
we shot a sizzle in June, took it to the Regal executives. They go, this is great. We're like, okay, we'll give you a letter of intent, just say for 150 theaters. So they gave us this letter of intent. We took it to investors. They gave us the money in 20 minutes. We shot the movie in November. I think they're planning for a massive release in September. They love it. And I'm the star. So we'll be doing 1, 2, 3, kind of like the Saw franchise. So this is going to be massive. It's going to come out. It's going to be a
Amazing.
great role. You know, one of my best roles I've ever done. It's so different. I did
I
that.
do.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
No, no,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Please, please, please go ahead.
We did that. And what else did I have? I have another thing. I'm working on a couple of other little, things here and there too, but pretty big, cool stuff.
So yeah, we're definitely going to use that as an opportunity to bring you back for round two.
Right.
Once they come out, we can talk about them. And I don't want to not mention, because you did mention your three passions. It was acting or film, and it was football and food. And I can't not. We talked about everything but the food part. And I did want to mention and see if you could share some more context into. Is it Lombardi Foods?
No, it's Ava Lou's Italian Pizza Company. Ava's my daughter. I'm Lou. I've been brought up by all Italian women. Since I'm
Okay.
5, I've been in the kitchen. I've been
Okay.
cooking. If I didn't become an actor, I was going to cooking school. I was going to go to open pizzerias in the Bronx. That's what my life was since I'm 5. I'm brought up by all women. So all I ever did was sit in the kitchen, right? All I ever did was watch and watch and watch. So I always cooked since I'm a kid. I cook every night now. I make everything too, not just pizza. I make sushi, Chinese food, Mexican food. I make all kinds of stuff, right? I make everything and I love cooking. So what happened over all these years when I had this house in Santa Monica, everyone would come in my house. Like I told you, all these guys that were not famous at the time, right?
Yeah.
They would all come to my house and I would cook for them. Michael Rappaport, Leonardo, fucking the House of Pain crew, Danny Boy. They would all come to my house. They were no one.
Amazing.
And I would cook and I would teach guys how to cook. This is 1993, dude.
That's
The house
amazing.
in Santa Monica we lived in. So my house was the cool house where everybody came and hung out and everybody became famous, believe it or not. But I would teach them. I used to cook for Leanne Rhines.
It was
She
something in the food. It was something in the food.
Yeah, it's the camaraderie of the dinner table. So
Yeah.
what I did was, as a kid growing up, that's all we did. What I did was I started, I started by cooking since I'm a kid, and it turns out that now it's my life. Like acting is great. I love it. I've been an actor forever, but now I started this frozen pizza company with my daughter. We do massive events. We have a truck being built. We're about to open up locations like brick and mortars. It's a whole franchise we're working on. And me and my daughter cook every night. I've been teaching her to cook like I did since I'm a baby. And now we do it
Amazing.
together. And it's bringing families back to the dinner table. That's the slogan of the company. Let's teach our kids to cook. Get them off their fucking phones. Put your phone down and let's spend time and let's get in the kitchen. I don't care if you're making a bowl of soup. The
Yeah.
camaraderie of the kitchen and the dinner table, there's nothing bigger and better. Nothing, right?
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, just sitting around cooking, having a nice glass of wine or even a cocktail,
Yeah.
having a conversation, nothing beats that.
Nothing. And I took this idea and I started developing this frozen pizza line. Well, I want to sell to food service. I'm working on hotel groups I want to sell to. Hotels, restaurants that can't make New York pizzas. All my pizzas are made in New York with New York water. And they're shipped all over the country. So you're getting a New York pizza, not a frozen pizza. We're doing events right now. I'm making every one of them 3,000 people, 2,000 people,
Wow.
5,000 people. And I'm selling out at every event.
That's
Remember, they
amazing.
come frozen. So I'm working on the frozen market as well as food service. Food service, I want to be in every hotel, serving top quality, upscale frozen pizzas that you can top and make any way you want, conform to your business. You want bacon chicken ranch on the garlic crust? That goes like mad at my. I make so many different kinds of pizzas. And me and my daughter sit here and we play, and then I introduce them to the customers, and they love them. So
That's
the
amazing.
Ava Lou's Italian Pizza Company, you can go to my site. It's avalou'sitalianpizzacompany.com. And you know what? Again, what I want to do is I want to travel around. I want to feed kids. I want to feed people. like I did early on in my life, like I did when I first got out here. That's the second thing. So when this company hits, which it's about to, you can order our frozen pizzas anywhere around. We ship them. But I want to build brick and mortars where I can bring people together. And we're already doing that. We have a couple of locations working on Vegas, here in LA. But the food business is my life. You come, but when I start talking to pizza makers, they're like, holy shit, we just thought you were an actor who threw your name on a pizza. They go, you know more than 90% of the people we talk about. Yeah, I've been doing this since I'm 5 with
That's
Italian women.
amazing.
And in the Bronx,
You
everybody's
learn from the best.
just like I did in the movie business. Remember, I told you
Yeah.
I learned from all the top. I've been learning like that from all the top pizza guys in the Bronx for 50 years, literally 50 years in their kitchens, making dough, testing gravy. And it just developed into now. I hang out with, if you watch my Instagram, I hang out with the top pizza kids. Now they're all younger generation. They're revolutionizing the way pizzas are made, not some fat Italian anymore, but you got young hipsters that have been doing it 2-3 years, selling out of their mom's basements. And I'm finding these kids fascinating. I have dinner tomorrow with 3 of them. I had one last week. They're young 25-year-old kids who've been in it 3 years, but they mastered the game. How? Reading, educating, learning how to do the doughs, what's your hydration. And I sit there with them and they're like, so I'm working on doing a TV show based on that. Like
Really?
like the evolution of pizza, like where it came from and where it's going now in the new generations of 25-year-old pizza makers. And they're not fat Italian guys who the stereotypical pizza guy is. They're young, hip kids, 25, 30 years old, who've taught themselves. And I find it fascinating, their story. So me and the guy from Entourage, Doug Ellen, because I was on Entourage as well. We bypassed that.
I can't believe I did that. That's one of my favorite shows next to Sopranos, and I completely skipped Entourage. I'm gonna hit myself on the back later.
Well,
that's for round 2. That's for round 2.
I'm sorry. Yeah. What?
No, I said that one we can, but no, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I knew Doug. We all started out together. 1991, 3. We drove out together. He was here. We were all here. He was no one. We were all just friends.
Yeah.
And when Entourage hit, he put me on. He's my guy.
Which Malcolm McDowell was also on that too.
Malcolm McDowell was also on, right? So that's the funny part of this business is a lot of these guys are friends of mine that I've worked with, but me and Doug's a big pizza guy as well. So we're working on doing this kind of food show where I go and I interview the new generation of pizza makers. Like, what made you get into it? 25? Like, what made you get this passion? And there's a whole crew of them. I love them. Tomorrow, I'm looking so forward to tomorrow already because 4 or 5 already call me. They're young guys, but they're so passionate and they're educated in what they're doing. They didn't learn from the fat guy on the corner in the pizzeria in the Bronx. They're learning from, like stuff that no one even understands about pizza. Yeah, they're mastering it. So that's the show I'm working on now as well. I'm gonna host it. I'm gonna go talk to the kids and understand what made you get into it and what made you create this kind of pizza. Remember, it's the process. It's not the ingredients. Everybody makes pizza. What is the 3 main ingredients? Flour, water, yeast, and salt. Yeah. How do you create and sugar to rise the yeast? Otherwise, what's your process to make you different? And they're all different. But who ferments it, who does this, who has a hydration, they're masters. And I love it. I feel like the Yoda, the old man, going, tell me, kids, what's going on? And these kids are so excited and they make great product. So yeah, that's the pizza game. My Ava Italian Pizza Company is about to be massive. We have events now, 5,000, 10,000, but all these massive amounts of people showing up to these events.
And it's available for order. You can order it.
No, you have to come to the pop-ups. You have to come to the events where we are. We're not shipping anything frozen yet. It's a big process for that.
Yep.
We're definitely feeding thousands and thousands and thousands of people at each event.
I'm gonna
pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna definitely stay in touch and see, when the next pop-up is. I'd love to. I love pizza. Pizza is my favorite food. The reason why I look the way that I do is because of all the pizza that I eat.
Where do you live?
I live in the Bay Area, so I'm actually near San Francisco, but I come to Southern California all the time. We have
Let me know. Let me know. I'll take you to one of these kids' spots.
Definitely. We actually have some good pizza. I don't know if you know of Tony Giamani, Tony's Pizza.
Yeah, Tony Giamani just opened Slice House here in Thousand Oaks. I was there last week.
I did not know that. So
he opened another one too here. He opened up 2 of them here.
So that's 2 in Southern California now. That's amazing. Yeah. Awesome.
I know him from the pizza conventions.
I was going to say
convention every year. Yeah, I've been going for 20 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's like my home. I love that. I love the pizza business. I love that. And again, sports as well. I'm a big sports guy. I pick games. I actually just started a sports betting picking site. Not betting, but picks. We're killing it. It's called Louis Locks. You go to Louis Locks. We have a website, Louis Locks. LOUIE LOCKS. And I pick games, dude, on football season. Before football season ended, I went 24 out of 21, picked 21 straight games out of 24. The
That's
only two games I lost was Buffalo playing the Chiefs, and I thought Josh Allen would have a great game and make up for his. This is it. This is where you become the elite. He lost. He lost that game, and then I bet against Mahomes with that. And then I was like, you know what? Lamar Jackson, Super Bowl, great defense. I took Lamar. Those are the two games I lost. Otherwise, I won every playoff game. I won under and overs in almost every
oh,
game.
oh,
It was
so
the thing.
it sounds like you bet the Chiefs against the Niners.
Absolutely. And my friend is Brian Baldinger, who's the NFL major host, like the
Oh
major,
wow. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
major NFL guy. He's one of my closest buddies. And
Wow.
he told me early on when I said, I think Lamar Jackson when he goes, Louis, don't bet against Mahomes. When I bet against him twice, Super Bowl king, I was like, don't bet against Mahomes. And I loaded up on Mahomes. How you underdogs? How are
Yeah.
you underdog? Don't even get me started. We'll do a football one. But if you like picks, we have college picks. We're killing it on our
Yeah.
college locks. Go to Louis Locks and all these college, the Final Four and all these things that are happening. We're killing it again. So you
It's
can pay to
amazing.
get picks. But when football season comes, we're going to do me and Bruce Buffer. You know what Bruce Buffer is from the UFC?
Of course.
You look at my Instagram. I was just with him yesterday. He's a good buddy of mine for 20 years. We went out. He has a liquor. We were kind of promoting this thing. We all went to dinner, but he wants to do a podcast with me because we all season, me, him, Baldinger, get on the phone and start telling who do you like, and we all like fight. I'm taking this, I'm taking, and we all show our picks on a group chat we're on.
I'd be happy to host you guys on the Movie Junk podcast anytime.
That'd be great. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that would be
man.
an honor. I mean, and we're going to definitely promote Ava Lou's, and it was
Yes, please.
Louis picks, and we'll put the links on there as well
Yes,
too.
yes.
So of all the promos, and I do want to be respectful of your time because I can talk to you for hours. Like I said, you have a
Yeah.
contagious personality. I'm again super honored for having you to come on our podcast, and again just wanting to discuss all these famous and infamous roles that you've been on, and hearing the journey and hearing the stories of how you've been able to land these roles. I mean, it's a very once in a lifetime career, and I think a lot of the decisions that or choices that you've made are the reason why. Obviously, you're still busy, you're still working, still making amazing content for the fans, and I'm excited for what's
Thank
to
you.
come. So I really
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
joining
man.
today.
I had a great conversation. I feel like we're like sitting here eating pizza, bullshitting with each other. I love it. What a great
Um,
conversation.
I'm upset that I got back home last night. I should have stayed an extra day and had some pizza with you, but we'll definitely set
Oh,
something
you
up.
were in LA?
I was in LA for the weekend.
You should have texted me. Or
We
just called me and left a message.
I
We,
will. I will. I do come quite often. We
yeah, well,
actually were.
whatever, man.
I
Next time you're
definitely
there, we'll hit
will.
up one of these cool kids' pizza places, like 10 of
Oh man, that's an easy sell. Me eating pizza. I mean,
them.
my record is 3 pizza places in one day. So that's something. So I love pizza.
We'll
Anytime,
beat
I'll take
that.
you up on that.
Absolutely, man. Next time you come to LA, you let me know and we'll hit up a few great spots.
Will do. Will do. Thank you
Yeah,
so
man.
much for your time. I feel like I made a friend today, and
So did
excited
I.
to share with the fans. And I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much, man. What a great conversation. If you need anything, call me up. And next time you're in LA, you better hit me up. We're going for pizza.
Will do. Will do. Thank you
You have
so
a
much,
great
and we'll
good
talk
talking to
soon.
you, buddy. You got it. Bye.